and welcome to This Week in WordPress, you guys. It is Friday, December 10th, November 10th, and I'm BJ Keaton. I am here with you on This Week in WordPress, brought to you by Elegant Themes, where we are going to discuss the best news, resources, and tutorials that are really worth talking about this week for everything that's happened in WordPress. We want to make sure that you are as up to date on what's happening in the WordPress world as you possibly can be. So without further ado, let's get to talk. Okay, so first up, one of the things that I wanted to talk about to begin with was just how close we are to WordPress 4.9. That it's coming up very, very quickly on us. We are looking at a November release for this at the end of the month, and WP Shout has put together a field guide for us so that we can really see what is coming up, what is going on, that we can prepare ourselves for in 4.9. They don't have anything, as they said, that's Gutenberg level, which we'll talk about Gutenberg here in a few minutes. But they're talking about things that are changing in the customizer, that you can schedule and save drafts in terms of themes. And I think that's really fantastic to talk about and to look at with the themes that are going to be able to be scheduled, because it's something that when you're dealing with production and staging sites, that it can get a little bit gross. So being able to go into 4.9 with 4.9 and customize your themes and then schedule them for your non-peak times are going to be great. There's going to be a built-in gallery widget where it doesn't sound like a lot, but that's something that is completely missing out of core that we're going to finally be able to get. And then we're also going to be able to do, code editing in the admin area, where it's, a lot of people aren't going to be doing that, but those of us who just need to make a couple of tweaks, it's a lot easier than FTPing in. And then just small things like that are coming that I think are fantastic and that you need to really be aware of. So go to WP Shout. The link is in the description of this, and I will post any of them in the description that you can click on. I just saw Luis post if there was an earthquake in my zone. I don't think so. Did I start bouncing around? Did I hit my table? I will apologize and try for that. I move around so much. I realize that can be an issue. So again, really sorry about doing that. I say a lot. I'm trying not to. There's a talk on WP Tavern right now where the Gutenberg contributors are talking about how they're using iframes and meta boxes, and as meta boxes rather. And I think that this is a rather inelegant solution. There's a lot of debate on how meta boxes should be handled in Gutenberg, and with it coming very soon, we need to figure out, because it's kind of a core use for a lot of people with WordPress. But one of the things that they're using right now are having meta boxes show up through Gutenberg using iframes, and it's kind of gross. It's not the most elegant solution, and it is as they put it in the WP Tavern article, it is a works for now solution. So it's a very heated discussion between a lot of different people. So I think that a lot of folks will want to weigh in on that. You can get in the conversation on GitHub. You can join in on WP Tavern and pretty much everywhere else that the WordPress community congregates, because those discussions are read by the contributions team and those who want to who are involved in Gutenberg and the core contributors. So that's something that you really should make your feelings known about and join in on that discussion. It's a very interesting discussion for me, because that isn't a core feature that impacts my personal life very much, my professional life very much, but there are people who cannot run their business without Gutenberg, in the future here at least, being able to fully support meta boxes. It will completely break everything that they've set up with WordPress as a content management system. So them using iframes alone as meta boxes is kind of weird rather than having it built in as functionality. Luis, you're also sorry about the cam tilting. It's trying to get my office set up in here for streaming today. My lights did not want to cooperate for the tilting. That will be fixed ASAP. Not right now. You don't want to watch me do that. You mentioned when Gutenberg is supposed to air. It should come out next year is what we were told when Matt did the article about React a while back when moving away from Facebook's React library. They pushed it from what they were looking at with the 5.0 release, which may have been by the end of the year, into 2018. I would assume Q1 2018 the way that they're pushing it, but that's just me. That's just my conjecture. It will be 2018 though, but I think they're trying to get it very quick. They're also, as far as impacting our Divi workflow, right now it shouldn't, question mark. We're working on making sure everything is as smooth as possible, and with the way Divi works, you should not see anything different for the way that you handle your life. So smooth sailing, just keep on keeping on, my friends. That's what we're here for, is to make your lives easier, and that's what we're working very hard to maintain with all of these challenges. Our dev team is really working hard to make sure that happens. So never fear. If anything is going to impact you, though, we will be sure to let you know in plenty of time if anything changes and we have to. But with the editors, the way that they're set up right now, still going to be included in core. It's not as though Gutenberg is replacing them. It's just going to be an addition. There should be nothing that breaks on y'all's ends. So that's good. Also in 4.9, they also released just recently the last bit of news that I had, because this was actually a fairly light news week in terms of just, major news stories, controversies, that kind of thing. With 4.9 coming out, they are finally getting some nav menu improvements where making new menus and naming them, labeling them, adding pages has always been a little bit hinky. That ever since I started using it nearly a decade ago, it is still the weird way of adding menus, and it's not the most user-efficient flow, and they are making changes to that in 4.9. I included a link to the make.wordpress.org article about it, where they were talking about the improvements that they've made, and a lot of them are, again, quality of life. 4.9 is all about quality of life for us, so that you're able to create a menu for a location that doesn't exist yet. So a lot like the theme planning and scheduling, you're going to be able to actually plan out your menus and how you want navigation to go for your users beforehand, instead of messing something up and in production and having to go through all of that. So I think that that's a wonderful thing, and I really wanted to bring it up because it wasn't included in the WP Shout article with the field guide that they had done. So I think it's something that you should be aware of, because it's not a major thing, but it is a major thing for some of us. For those of you who are just tuning in, this is the This Week in WordPress live stream, where we do every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, where I and usually somebody else, today we had technical issues, are going over news, resources, and tutorials that were published and brought to you on This Week in WordPress. If there is anything that you have noticed and you have seen this week that you want to share with the community, please throw them in the comments. I would love to check those out. I would love to have a discussion. If you have any questions about anything or want to hop in the discussion, I would love to be able to talk with you. So please throw in a comment, tell your friends. Let's just have a big old party here. Talk about software and kind of kick off the weekend right, So that said, said, we're moving into tutorials. Like there wasn't a whole lot of news, but there was an article that I could not resist that Yoast published this week. And it is a tutorial / resource in a lot of ways, because I used to be an English teacher. I spent almost a decade teaching college English, and most of that was in freshman and sophomore literature or composition. So when I saw that Yoast published an article called "Why You Should Actively Avoid the Passive Voice," the English teacher in me just went, "Oh, Yoast, you my favorite." And I had to bring it up to you guys, because one of the things that Yoast as an SEO plugin does is bring in the passive voice, that it makes you write actively. It makes you use active verbs and active phrasings. And if you're not really familiar with that, y'all, I want to really point out how important this is in terms of readability and the engaging nature of your prose. That passive voice is one of those things where someone is doing something to something else. The best way to understand it and think about it is, if you can put "by zombies" at the end of a sentence, then it's probably passive. It's it's really interesting, because it was like, I was hugged by zombies. That's I was chased by zombies, whereas the person who is doing the action is the zombie who is chasing me. So it would be better to say zombies were chasing me, or zombies are chasing me, and that is not the case right now. But that's really the basic premise of it, is who is performing the action in the sentence. And by making it active, by using as few passive voice sentences as you can, you are directly engaging your readers. And see, that sentence alone, "you are engaging your readers," is active. That's something that I am working on engaging directly with you as my audience, as opposed to saying, your readers are going to be engaged. Because, yeah, they're going to be, but who is actually doing that? Who is actually doing the engaging? You're the one engaging with them. If you want to say your readers are engaging with you, your readers will engage with you. That's how they comment. When your readers engage with you, they'll comment, but you are trying to interact and engage with your readers. So if you read this, this Yoast article on why you should avoid that passive voice, and specifically how to avoid the passive voice. Another reason is that it gets wordy. Web writing is all about being clear and concise, and you really need to get your point across soon, or people leave. So you need to be able to write actively to keep people that way. There are some exceptions they talk about. I really like them bringing it up, because the one thing I always told my composition students is that you absolutely never speak in absolutes, and that sometimes you have to use it, because you want to focus the sentence on the object of the action, rather than the actual performer. Where the example they give in the Yoast article is John F. Kennedy was killed by Lee Harvey Oswald, where the important focus of that sentence is John F. Kennedy, as opposed to Lee Harvey Oswald himself. So your focus does matter. The reason you're writing matters, but for the most part, it is a fantastic idea to avoid the passive voice whenever possible, because it will engage your readers a lot more. There's a very in-depth article about that on Yoast. Just click the link in the description. I would say up there, but it could be there or there, depending on where you're watching this. So click the link and read on that one. It's super cool. I really like it. They're fantastic people for bringing that up, if you ask me. They also, let's see, what was the next one I wanted to talk about? How to host your open source WordPress theme on GitHub. I download so much stuff from GitHub. I think it's a fantastic resource. I don't know if you guys are on there. You should be. If you're not, even designers can benefit from being on GitHub and posting your things up. But something that TWIW posted was taking 5 steps to get open source themes on GitHub. Because yes, there are you put it in the repo, you get it on the official WordPress theme repository, and everything is great. But a lot of times I do go to GitHub and find things, and especially if you're going to open it to contributors and you're putting the base work in, and then have other people keep it up, they're great. It's fantastic. And really what this article is more than specifically about the theme, is about using GitHub. I wrote an article that's on the Elegant Themes blog about for newbies working with Git. And this is a very simple way for designers that TWIW has, for you designers out there to start using Git, that it is a wonderful resource, and it is not scary. That it can be intimidating when you first start, but getting on GitHub, and especially as a designer, you may think it's only a developer thing, but it's not. You can do themes, you can do all sorts of stuff on there that others can contribute to, as well as just use it as a place for your own version control. Super cool. Thank you for TWIW for doing that. So yeah, I wanted to bring that up. Luis also asked about the growth Elementor Pro is getting. A lot of people are talking about Elementor, and it's a fantastic piece of software. I mean, there is no way to avoid that. There's no reason not to say that. It's great. Obviously, we stand by Divi as being the best one that you can get, and the best value for your money for the lifetime membership at elegantthemes.com/join. But Elementor is very good. It does great things, and I think using it, my personal experiences have been moving from one page builder into the next, and I know I've talked to people who have done that with Elementor, started out and then moved into Divi. I did it with Visual Composer to Divi before I even started working here, and I know that people I've talked to at WordCamps honestly use multiple page builders for their clients, because different clients want different things. And the beauty of, Elementor, Beaver Builder, Visual Composer, Xtheme, all the others, Cornerstone, all of these, is that if you're a freelance designer specifically, there is something that is going to work for some clients that doesn't work for others, and just knowing what's out there helps you get better with the tool of your choice. So Elementor Pro, it's absolutely great. But, in the end, love Divi too. Love it the most. But it's all good software, but, Divi. So that, let me move a little bit forward. For those of you who, again, are just now joining us, I just wanted to welcome you to the This Week in WordPress stream. I'm in the middle of the tutorial section where I'm talking about tutorials that I found this week, and it's super cool stuff this week. I was really happy about finding one on Victor themes. It's really cool because I got specifically into, and again, this is personal for me on this one with the reason I think it's super awesome. The reason that I think it's awesome is because I got specifically into web development because I wanted to work with nonprofits. Yes, Joan, Divi does rock, and thank you, Luis. Divi too for me too. But I got into doing this because I wanted to work with nonprofits. I wanted to work with something where I felt like I could really make a difference. And part of that was moving from teaching, because obviously I have this this helpful streak where I want to help people. And I ran across this week on how to make a charity website that builds trust and raises funds. I think that this is a super important read for everybody who does web development. That being able to look at what a nonprofit needs, what a charity needs, and how to engage people, because fundraising is super hard for nonprofits, and every bit of help that you can get is just fantastic and is absolutely needed. And they break it down. Victor Themes breaks it down into what you need to focus on with with a charity site, such as having a mission, showing what you do with your services, letting people know how active you are, because a lot of people may not know things that are going on with your organization in your community. Straight up asking for donations. It's like everybody hates asking for money, but with nonprofits, that kind of comes in with it with charities. So you have to, and they teach you how to do that online without feeling like you're shilling. Talking about milestones you've reached, talking about raising funds through reservations. It's super cool. Talking about your sponsors, because there are still sponsors in nonprofits, and collecting email addresses. And it's a 4-minute read, they say. So I mean, at the top, it's a very quick read, but it breaks all of this stuff down so well that if you are in the nonprofit sector, that even looking at this, I think may be able to help your workflow and your fundraising flow, and just being able to realize what's out there, what you could do, and what you may need to be able to do better that you didn't know about. So Victor Themes did great with that one, and it's under the tutorial section on how to do that. I apologize. Olivia mentioned that Elementor is not that stable, and that is something I can't comment on. I haven't used it as a daily driver before, where it is my major piece of software that I'm doing the building on. So I don't know anything about that. I would love to learn more about that, you guys. Glad to hear that. And Joan, speaking about extra, we are working on extra content. There are things that are going on in the background. We're always looking for more stuff to write about, and it's fantastic to actually get some extra stuff out there. So right now, any of our free Divi layouts that are coming out every Monday are able to be used with extra as well. So if you look in on the use cases that we do every Tuesday at 3 p.m., we do a live stream. One of our content team members walks you through using the free layout pack from that week. Any of those are able to be used with extra as well. They will just need the Divi Builder, the plugin. So when we say Divi, we tend to mean the Divi Builder on this one. So you can look at it for extra. So there are tutorials that way that are extra adjacent, I guess would be the way to call it. And Michael, I think that's interesting that you hated WordPress before Divi. That I totally understand that, actually. At a WordCamp I went to a couple of weeks ago in Birmingham, Alabama, I was approached by a lot of people who had never touched WordPress before. They were within a week, I believe. Some of them were within a week of having downloaded WordPress for the first time, and some of them were within a month, and some of them hadn't even decided if they wanted to download it and try it yet. And I did some Divi demos for them, and that really did convince them that WordPress was a content management system that they wanted to go with, because it was easy, that it was something that they didn't get out of the normal plugin repository, that the themes that they had installed weren't that user-friendly. And when I showed them what I was doing on my personal sites with Divi, they were like, oh yeah, this is what I want to do. And so you are not alone in that, and it warms my heart to see people who were not exactly up on WordPress beforehand and like it a lot now. So thank you. This is my big dumb grin, where it makes me very happy that we've affected people positively as in our community and as a company. So and I say we because I was not on the dev team or anything doing Divi. I'm this guy, but that makes me so unbelievably happy. So thank you guys. Keep the comments coming, y'all. Keep them coming. Let me talk. That said, I thought it was very cool that WP Beginner, one of the articles that they posted, was how to remove date and time from WordPress comments. I just wanted to bring this up, not going to spend a lot of time on it, but one of my things that I hate more than just about anything else on the internet is finding a site with super old comments, even if they are very pertinent and still available, they still work for what I need. I hate seeing that they're like 4-year-old comments. So maybe I would be a proponent of taking the date and time off of your comments, and WP Beginner tells you how. It's just a cool article, I think. I really thought Code NWP went over and above and beyond, over and above. I was an English teacher, and I can't remember my idiom here. Went above and beyond on talking about how to build progressive web apps based on WordPress and WooCommerce. The best part about this is that they have code examples for you to do, but progressive web apps are the ones where you get push notifications, where you can work offline, that it feels more like a desktop app than necessarily a web app. Look at Slack, for instance. That's really a progressive web app where you can just load it up, and it doesn't matter if you have it installed on your computer or if you're just running it in Chrome or Firefox. You're getting really the same experience. And Code NWP is really goes really in depth with how to start this, working with React, which is a fantastic library, for working on getting web apps together. Our very own Divi page builder that I've talked a little bit about here that some of you may know about, it's built with React. It's written with React. So you see the kinds of browser-based stuff that you can do with React. And they break it down now and look at it where you can see some code examples and what you're getting into. So if that's something that you guys would like to get into with WordPress and your future in the ecosystem, Code NWP really has a good one on there. Have any of you guys ever worked with any progressive web apps? Have you built anything where it is a fully functioning piece of software that exists only in the browser, where you're dealing with far more it's not the word invasive, BJ, what's wrong with you? Where you're dealing with far more integrated systems and notifications and things like that than before? Let me know. I want to hear about this because I'm super interested in it, because it really feels like a lot of the web is moving in that direction. Because I don't know about you guys, but even on my work computer here, I have very few pieces of actual software installed, and so many of them are browser-based these days. I mean, look at Google Drive, things like that we all use. It's just moving that direction. So it was something that I wanted to bring up to you guys. So yeah, let me know what's going on with you if you've built any like that. I thought it was a fantastic one that I can't remember who published it now. NPR Studio did this, and I love that they posted a Wix to WordPress step-by-step migration guide. That was not necessarily a dramatic pause for me to take a drink. I felt like afterward I was like, oh yeah, let that sink in for a second. But no, it wasn't. I was just thirsty. But Wix is a great piece of software. And this goes back to kind of what we were talking about Elementor earlier, with other pieces of software that kind of fill this almost same role in a lot of ways as the Divi builder does, as Divi does. That I think that Divi is obviously the best choice, and there are a lot of people who have made websites on Wix or Squarespace and used these, and they feel stuck. That I've used Squarespace before, and I had one of my author sites hosted on there to sell books, and I decided I wanted off of it, and there wasn't a great way to migrate away. That I ended up having to recreate my stuff elsewhere later and just doing it. And if you're not the kind of person who has that WordPress expertise, that you aren't aware of Divi, let's say, you aren't aware of how to migrate from one of these proprietary systems to WordPress, then different tutorials like the one on NPR Studio is very, very important. They're very useful. I think that, and they have so many. They have like over a dozen different ways to do it. They talk about updating your permalinks. They look at outsourcing your migration if you're not the kind of person to do it yourself. That you can get your menu set up, which will be easier in WordPress 4.9, remember. That getting your hosting, getting domain domains, installing everything, they line up, and specifically for users coming from Wix. I would actually love to know from you guys if you've used Squarespace or Wix and what your thoughts are on using one of those sites versus using Divi, because I know mine, I know how I was, but with Michael having mentioned, hating WordPress before, I'm really curious on your experience and how you felt if you used any of these other sites, and now you're on WordPress, obviously, because you mentioned liking Divi. But I would really like to know your experiences with these on a personal perspective, because, like I said, I've done it myself, and I'm always wanting to know your opinions and your experiences. So let me know about that. I got a pop up. Sorry. I would also Yoast this week, you guys. Yoast did such good stuff. But before I get into Yoast's next amazing article that they posted, I want to welcome anyone who is just joining us. This is This Week in WordPress. I'm BJ Keaton, a content creator here at Elegant Themes, and we are working toward the end of our tutorial section, where usually every week we talk about news, tutorials, and just everyday resources that you can use to better your WordPress, pressing those words. And we are, like I said, we're moving toward the end of tutorials, about to move into resources once we finish this up. And I was just beginning to talk about a fantastic article that Yoast brought up, Yoast wrote this week, rather, on how to get site links. Everybody wants to know about site links. They have a video up that you can read. That you can read this video, you guys. That you can watch this, and it's getting different site links are hard. Get backlinks. They want you to be sure that you know, like, when you are. Let me think on how to even phrase this. I got tongue-tied and was reading, and so let me gather myself here. When you search on Google, when you look at for anything, you will have your website. And if you Google Elegant Themes, you will see that we also have site links on our presence on Google, which are like join, Divi, demo, stuff like that, forums, blog, all of this, where you have those sublinks immediately, and they're super important for getting engagement on Google. And Yoast has a good video, a good article on how you can get those on your website, for your website. And it's just something that we get asked a lot. It gets Googled a lot. You Google how to get Googled, and people do that a lot. It's very meta, and it's something that y'all need to be aware of. It's something I needed to be aware of, let me be honest. But there's a transcript lower how to do it. You can click on it. You can watch the video. But Yoast is doing good stuff, these guys. These days. So the last tutorial that I wanted to mention was one on our very own Elegant Themes blog. It was how to integrate WhatsApp into your WordPress website. And more these days, y'all, people are wanting to talk directly to businesses. Whether you are whether you're buying something, whether you are selling something, people want to speak directly to you. And if you have Facebook Messenger, a live chat, now WhatsApp, whatever it is that you want to use and the method that you want to use it, there's a way to put that into WordPress. And we put up an article this week on how you could integrate WhatsApp on your WordPress site so that people could directly message you and you could interact with them this way. We have it on, not WhatsApp specifically, but we have a live chat here on the Elegant Themes website. You can message us on our Facebook page and directly interact with us. And that's something that we feel is incredibly important in terms of building community and getting to know you folks. So we want to really pay that forward and let you know how you can do it with your brands and your audiences and your users if you're not already doing it. So check that out. I've actually never really used WhatsApp, just a little bit, installed it, messed around, and then uninstalled it because I didn't really have anybody using it. But it's apparently is very popular, you guys. So check it out, put it on WordPress, and give Brenda Barron some love for putting it together for us. Again, we're moving into the resources part of This Week in WordPress, so if you're just joining us, you can look at any of the links in that we talk about in the description of this video, and you can click on them, read all of them. Not going to have time to be able to go through every single one today. I really wish I did, but I encourage you to read all of them. In resources, again, I wanted to talk about one and just point out one that we have available to you on the Elegant Themes website. Every week, we are doing a Divi Design initiative where our design team is putting out free website layouts for different kinds of websites that are totally free to you and to use through the Divi Builder. They're also compatible with Extra, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, that this week's was a fashion website, and there's an article on how to use this layout pack specifically to put together an online store with WooCommerce. There have been some comments in some of the website in the WordPress Facebook groups about using WooCommerce with Divi, and these are some. This is a good way to look and see at how that may happen. It might not be exactly what you use it for and how you use it. I mean, you don't all run fashion websites, I'm assuming, but it's a way that you can look and see what you can do with it. Also, you can look at our backlog. You can just search our blog for layout pack. Excuse me, I was going to say free layouts, and that would probably also work. But you can look for any of our layout packs and see how they're integrated with WooCommerce as well. And we are doing live streams for those every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. The same time you guys tuned into this, that you can learn how to use our layout packs, see them, and have one of our content team walk you through everything that you need to know about it. So moving forward on that, I thought it was interesting that last time I did this, and it has been a little bit, and so I apologize for that. That there is a 5 benefits of deploying a Google accelerated mobile page to your blog. Because the last time we did this, there was an article that came up on why you would want to remove the Google AMP from your blog. So I love how that there are different takes on this. That there are benefits and detriments in across the entire ecosphere of WordPress and web development, and it's that WP Lift put this together because of looking at AMP, because pretty much everything has AMP pages. I say AMP, I say AMP, and I mean the same thing because I say the same things over and over again. And my accent saying the word AMP makes me it sounds kind of funny. AMP. Sorry, I tickled myself. But deploying it does make your page load faster, that it increases your speed, which increases engagement, which increases conversions, and so on and so on and so on. Your viewers and visitors and readers, they all leave if your website takes too long to load. Google AMP fixes that. Google does rank you better if you're using AMP. Some people say that there's a positive impact on user experience. I am one of the people who thinks that it does not, because I like having a link to share with people. There's one extra step to sharing an AMP link a lot of times where Google masks it, and I get really frustrated at having to take it off. But then again, I'm super lazy when I'm sharing stuff on my phone, and I just want like click, 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 click. I don't like that many clicks. I just want one click. And it's but that's me. That's me. It's probably you too, let's be honest. But there are good reasons to deploy AMP. And one of them at the very end that they talk about is that Google has AMP ads. That if you're making a lot of money with CPM ads, if you have a lot of traffic, if you're doing AdSense, then using AMP ads is a lot faster than it is using the normal ones. They go through a completely different protocol, so you should probably check that out if you're not using that already and you have an AMP site, or if you're not performing on the AdSense. On the AdSense, I'm 90 years old. It's like, oh, when you're not performing on the AdSense like you want. I'm so sorry. I'm so terribly sorry, you guys. But you should definitely check out the AMP ads. And then there is also Torque did an article on progressive web apps this week as well, on why those that you're going to be making that I talked about a few minutes ago, and apparently this way is the past, that I talked about are going to be the future of apps in general. I see this a lot. I see people talking about, I mean, I've seen it for years since like the App Store opened up, really, that that eventually we're going to be able to move away from natively downloaded and installed applications into progressive web apps, which is very likely to happen. I don't know when it'll happen, but TWIW talks about it based on, that there is a reduced friction for users that you load up your site, and it doesn't matter if you're on Android or iOS or Windows Phone for those 3 people out there on it, or BlackBerry for those 7 still on it. It is on there, and you can use it. That you can handle security a lot better because you're able to control your own security. You can do with HTTPS, and there are fewer hoops to jump through that way. Speed is also important. That unless you are specifically writing native apps in the language for that particular operating system, if you're writing in Java or if you're writing in Swift or Objective-C, then your apps are going to be fast if you're writing in those. If you're not, if you're using React Native, or if you're wrapping a web page in, if you're wrapping a web view, it's going to be slower. It's going to be clunkier. It's going to be a little bit just non-functional, I guess is how to put it. But that I think that these apps are going to be fantastic for doing that. That's one of the reasons that they're great for this. They talk about having offline access, that you can allow them to do that within their browser. You can do that in Google Drive, Google Docs, and you can make adjustments fast. This is the most important one, I think, that they're talking about, is being able to make adjustments immediately. And this is something that actually comes from using React Native as well, which allows you to write native apps that are installed that don't necessarily just wrap a web view rather. I don't know why I keep saying it like that. But you can make adjustments on the fly without having to submit an update to the App Store, get it approved, and then lose your reviews and have to go through the approval process, having people actually make the update. You push it, it's live, it's there, just like you do on your websites now. So I think that's a great thing for progressive web apps, and TWIW has that on there. Click the link in the description of this video so that you can read about it yourself. Let me see if I can find my link I wanted to talk about next. It was about looking at nope, that's the wrong one. It's looking at the home workspaces of 15 WordPress experts. WP Newsify posted this one, and I love this kind of thing, you guys. I absolutely adore it because I love knowing how people work. That I'm nosy. That there is that. It's like, I want to see inside your house. My wife and I end up going to like open houses and garage sales and yard sales a lot, and really hope that people let us in their house because we want to either look through their stuff or see what's inside their house that we don't get to see. Like, we're super nosy. And so I love articles that let me see what other people's workspaces look like, workstations. And they go through 15 people, including like Syed Balki of WP Forums, Monster Insights, and Vira Gallery. Ahmed Awais, I butchered his name, who is a regular core contributor. He's on a lot of these WordPress groups. And there's just so many more people, and it shows what they work with, what they look like, what their workspaces look like, and that kind of thing helps me a lot. And I wanted to bring it up to you guys because when I see how someone else arranges their workspace, it makes me want to arrange mine. It makes me realize how inefficient I'm working. And if you could see my desk right now, you would totally agree how inefficient I'm working right now. As Luis mentioned earlier, it looks like an earthquake has gone because everything behind me is a little tilted. But I need to read even more of this site. But I hope that you guys get something out of that, or at least have your nosiness and curiosity sated by reading it. For those of you who are just tuning in, I see some of you have just popped in. I wanted to let you know that you're watching the This Week in WordPress stream. We do this every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, where we go through the news, tutorials, and resources that matter to you that were published that week in WordPress. A very good title. Thank you for that. And I didn't come up with it. That's what I was thinking, Nathan. Where we're in the resources section right now, finishing up the last handful of them so that we can talk about stuff that I really hope that, honestly, that you can read and make your weekend a little bit more interesting as we wrap up Friday. And Andrea, you are more than welcome. Divi is great, and hopefully some of this information will help you as well. Click through all the links. Give these people some love. It is super important. Like I've said a couple of times, I'm all about community. Elegant Themes is all about community, and we want to share the love that there are some great things going on in the WordPress community. And if you guys, you ladies, have anything to share that you have done this week in WordPress, let us know. Throw it in the comments. Let me see it. And let's talk about your week in WordPress, because we've only got 10 or 15 more minutes on the stream. So if you've got anything that is fantastic that you found this week in WordPress, or that you've done this week in WordPress, let us know. This is your chance to give yourself a shout out, or somebody that you know of who you think deserves a shout out. A shout out. By the way, I did steal the word shout out from Code Newbie. If you've never listened to that podcast, I will give a shout out to her right now so that you're aware that I straight up stole the shout out thing, and I've told her that before, and she said that was quite all right. But go listen to that podcast. She is great. Saran is fantastic. So they do some WordPress there occasionally too, so it's on topic. One of the other resources I saw on here was, again, like a couple of these others, were very close to my heart, on why attackers hack small sites. And I think that it is very important, because if you're running a small site, like, let's say I have a fitness blog that I run, and it does all right, but it's very small. Not many people know about it. It has its audience, and it's not Elegant Themes by any means. And it's been hacked before. I've found some stuff when I was moving host recently, and then I had a client who was a very localized company who had gotten hacked and hired me to fix all of that stuff and move everything away. And they're like, why would anyone hack us? And Securi posted this blog on why attackers hack small sites, and the way that they put it, they summed it up very nicely in money, exposure. Like, those two things are the reasons that they hack. Because if it's an e-commerce site, they say, they can look at bank data, credit card information, personal information, that kind of stuff. They also redirect users from your site in order to generate traffic and ranking on others. And that's what had happened on the site that I was hired to fix. It was a company had taken over and changed their entire .htaccess file to block everything except a particular region's IP addresses, and then hosted their own e-commerce site on their hosting, and was doing drop shipping e-commerce on their hosting with their site, doing everything like that. It was purely money. It was phishing. It was scamming. It was terrible. And I think it's a very good idea if you guys go to Securi and read why they attack small sites and what you can do to fix it. Securi is great in itself. There's all sorts of resources through them. You should be looking at them and know about them if you don't. So I wanted to bring that up. That said, also on that same topic, there is a. Oh, excuse me. I gotta have another drink. Excuse me. There is a fantastic article on Codable on 4 scary yet undeniable truths about new WordPress website security. It's great. I do this a lot. I talk with my hands, so I apologize. That untouched WordPress files are prone to attack. Stuff like this, where stuff that you're not changing, that you're not making updates, things like this. Just be aware of what you can do with a brand new website, because if you are the kind of person like me who throws up a new installation to test something and then just lets it sit for a while, we are asking for trouble. we should not do this. There are ways to protect ourselves. Codable talks about it, codable.io, and it goes right into what Security was talking about. Those kinds of small sites are some of the most prone to attack because it goes unnoticed. It goes completely unnoticed, and we a lot of times don't know or care about those sites. We may forget about them, so we need to pay attention to it and read the Codable article about getting that fixed. So, where was the next one? Oh no! Oh man, I cannot find it. I'm so sorry. I thought I had all of them open, and apparently I closed this link. Matt Report. I really like this website and podcast. There is a really cool one that he did about creating information products. And that's kind of what we're into here. We're working on information products. I love the idea of being an information worker. I think that goes back to being a Star Wars nerd from when I was like playing the Star Wars CCG as a teenager. It was like one of my favorite things was this idea of being an information broker. Like somebody would come give me money because I knew something and tell them secrets. Like that's kind of the way I feel about being an information worker now. It's like you guys specifically, the ones watching this video, are paying me to give you secrets, and I go every week, find the secrets, and then give them to you. Like, that is really what I kind of think about this as. So yeah, I feel like I'm a character in Star Wars sometimes, but that's what he's talking about a lot, where it's creating these products that you can sell that are based entirely on information, and it's awesome that a lot of you guys are doing this as well, where you're running this business and you're not selling a hard product. You may be selling consulting or training, but you have a very specific product and brand that you sell as well. So I think it's really cool for you guys to go listen to this. It's David Hayes who is actually talking about it on Matt Report. They have a ton of resources in the show notes. It's just good stuff. You can click through in the resources section of this stream to be able to find out more about that. And I also wanted to give another shout out to Josh Pollock, that we had some really, really ridiculous tech stuff going on when I was going to have Josh on a couple of weeks ago, and things didn't work. Some of you guys may have noticed the stream when we tried to do it, where there was no sound on Josh's side or my side, and I wanted to show you guys an article that he wrote. He is from Caldera Forums that he did for Torque Mag, that is rethinking what I know about Medium as a WordPress developer. And this is very pertinent right now. People are talking about Medium a lot. Just a little while ago, maybe a month ago, they did change their ranking metrics. They've changed the way that they bring people in for their paywalled content. They're working a lot. Medium is a fantastic platform, but one of the things that Josh talks about is the idea of convenience over control, what that matters, the idea of the network effect that you have, because their recommendation system is awesome for you to find new content, and it's a very, very interesting read that Josh put together for people like us who are looking at Medium as potentially something more than what we might have thought it is, as well as from the perspective of someone like us who are coming from a WordPress background, where we are looking at it from a completely different viewpoint as from someone else who is not ingrained in this particular ecosystem. So give Josh some love for writing that. And Josh, I'm so sorry. We will have you back so that you can talk to everybody again, and maybe we'll be able to hear you and me next time. But that said, I also... the very last one, the very last resource I saw, I wanted to end on a high note, on a funny note, on a fun note. I don't know if you guys ever watch Doc Pop's News Drop. It is also super fun. I love saying his Doc's WordPress News Drop, Doc Pop's News Drop, Doc Pop's WordPress News Drop. I love saying it. And he did a video this week on a brief history of Wapuu. When I first got into WordPress, I had no idea what Wapuu was or who Wapuu was. And as I have watched this and other videos and gone to conferences and WordCamps and just been a part of the WordPress community, I have seen this little Pikachu-looking dude with a tail or with a guitar, an iPad, cactus. Every WordCamp has a completely different Wapuu logo. And he, Doc Pop here, not Wapuu himself, is discussing why this little critter is everywhere that we go, and why it is important to us to have a mascot, and why he is great, and why you should love him. And I didn't think I would ever love him because I was like, this is silly. And I'm goofy. You guys should know I am really, really goofy, and I love cartoon characters. I have Pokemon like stuff in my windowsill, like behind over there, that you can't see, but I'm like, man, why is that? This is WordPress. And now I'm like, oh, it's WordPress. I want to see what Wapuu has now. And it's great. Watch Doc Pop's news drop about Wapuu. It's also very fun to say that, like I said before, but now I'm adding in Wapuu, and it's even more fun to say. So click the link, say a couple of times out loud, and learn about Wapuu. That said, you guys, that is all I wanted to that I had to bring up this week. All of the links that I've talked about this week are in the description of this video. You can find them on, this video will be on Facebook and on YouTube after this, so that you can watch it if you tuned in partway through, or if you just want to watch the entire hour again to see how fantastic I am and listen all over again. And we do this every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern to talk about all the stuff that was new in WordPress. So here's your homework, guys. If you're still watching, if you watch this, and get to this point, here is your homework. I want you, this is the Professor Beach part of me coming out. Like I said, I was an English teacher earlier. I want you to find something this week. I want you to find something that comes out from this week to next week, from this Friday to next Friday, and share it in the comments so that we can have a fantastic discussion about it, that we can get everybody involved in the comments and let us know what exactly is going on in your realm in WordPress this week. So that said, y'all, I really hope you have a fantastic weekend, and I really and truly hope that you have enjoyed this week in WordPress.